Oh, okay, I see it.
All right. We'll go ahead and come to order to Lathrop-Manteca Fire Protection District meeting dated November 21st. We'll come back from closed session, item 2.2, report. Chief?
We have nothing to report at this time.
All right. Item 3, roll call, please.
Chairman Mark Elliott.
Here.
Vice Chair Toshi Shihara.
Here.
Director Gloriana Rhodes.
Here.
Director Jeremy Coe.
Present.
Director Benny Gatto.
Here. All right, thank you. Please join with the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Rhodes, can you lead, please?
Please join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move to item 5, declaration of conflict of interest. To my left?
None.
To my right?
None.
None for me. Go to item 6. Item 6.1, presentation of certificate of recognition to the Special District of Good Governance. Chief?
So we were going to have a representative from CSDA was supposed to be present at the meeting, and so if we could table that to maybe later. He's not here at the moment, so see if he's going to show up, and if not, we'll pull it till next meeting. But he's going to present to the board good governance.
Perfect, perfect. I want to make a motion to table that for later in the meeting, item 6.1.
So moved.
Okay, we'll have a second. Do we need to do a roll call on that? Are we okay with that? Okay, let's go ahead and do roll call. I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Chairman Mark Elliott.
Yes.
Vice Chair Toshi Shihara.
Yes.
Director Gloriana Rhodes.
Yes.
Director Jeremy Coe.
Yes.
Director Benny Gatto.
Yes.
All righty. Moving to item 6.2. Can I have the board recognition of Lathrop First Responders Committee and barbecue volunteers? Can I have the board join me at the podium? We're going to give some recognition. So yes, just getting a little closer here, but thank you guys for coming. We are very honored as a board and to represent our firefighters, our chief, our admin team, and just wanted to give back and say thank you to your committee, say thank you to Extreme Barbecue for what you guys have provided over the years. Unfortunately, today we have a couple people that are ill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my thanks, and then I'll open up to the board to give thanks to you, and then we'll individually give out our certificates, and you may be able to speak. But I just want to tell you, as behalf of the board, thank you guys. I cannot speak on how powerful this is for our community, but more importantly, you know, it's just putting our first responders first is very unique in California or in the state, and you guys have really grabbed this bull by the horns and done a wonderful job. So thank you for Mark Elliott. Any other thanks before we move on? Go ahead.
I'll second what he's saying. Thank you very much. I actually was able to attend this year. I've been trying, and I finally was able to with my family. We had a fantastic time. And I know the firefighters appreciate it, as well as the other first responders. So keep up the good work. It's something people look forward to going to every year now. So now you got to keep it up. So thank you.
You guys had an idea a few years back, and we are so grateful. But most of all, I mean, we just sit up here and make decisions, but it's the guys out there, both the police and the fire, that do all the work to keep us safe. And again, you had an idea a few years back, and it is amazing. I go with my family, we have a blast. It's not only the whole concept of why you're doing it, but that it is so much fun for this community. So thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank all of you, and without that, recognizing the firefighters, the police, I know the veterans also, and but it really gets to my heart because I've been attending this all the time, because being a veteran and being, I was active on the sheriff, the Citizens Academy. I've been going there for the last 15 years. So, and also with fire. So I want to deeply thank all of you and relay it to the rest. I know all of them not here. So please relay the message. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just kudos again. You guys work your butts off and put this thing on, and it's great. And I think what was unique this year was our band. And in the band was all police and firefighters. So I thought that was unique, and they did an excellent job. And for the cooks, I know Mark was over there sweating long, but thank you guys again. It's it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
One thing that I just want to, a lot of kudos, but, keeping the hometown feel, keeping Lathrop together, having us work on something that is free, and we're all so proud of that, because there's just not very many activities nowadays you can invite everybody. And that is powerful, and that is because you guys have hustled and you've gotten the support. I'm not going to go through all the supporters, but I just want to thank you for that hometown feel, and that's what's going to keep Lathrop growing bigger, but also staying smaller. So let's go ahead and I'll call you up real quick. The two that I really want to announce that are ill today is Veda Klingman. So we'll be getting her certificate, and Miss Michelle Anderson, which is, I think, the chairman of our committee, but a big part of this. So thank you to Veda and Michelle. We know they're both ill today. Let's see here. I got some extreme barbecue guys here. All right. Miss Shay Rivers. And Miss Debbie Rock. Okay, some extreme barbecuers here. Miss April. Okay. All righty. We'll just have you guys move right over. We're going to bring our extreme barbecue up, our fearless leader here. Gentlemen, yes. Yes. Well, go ahead. Let's turn that right on.
I just wanted everybody to know the two people, Veda and Michelle, were very integral part of our committee. Michelle always goes above and beyond when we get this thing going. We had a lot of challenges this year. We had a lot of people from the community volunteer, help out, sponsor. They have people coming from Oakdale Blue Line Band. Who else? Shane. Joseph Woodmer, we missed them this year because due to administration or whatever, they weren't able to help. But this is, I'm talking the Discovery Challenge Academy, helping out and volunteering, doing color guard. Also, Camp Parks, the Army base, they came out and did color guard. But everybody that volunteered and helped us, it was very much appreciated, because that's when it all comes together, was the last day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll bring up Extreme Barbecue. Mr. Rob Salmeron. Mr. Jose Acosta. And a young man, Joshua Elliott. But what we want to say, and we'll let you kind of speak also, is that Extreme Barbecue's kind of been in this right with the committee. And, that's a testament to you, Rob, and the brothers that's come together. And we have so much fun, and I'll let you guys speak, but we have so much fun just being a part of it and having the community come check us out and say, hey, you're here again. It's tremendous. But I'll hand it off to Toshi.
It's pretty hard to give yourself certificate appreciated. Mark Elliott, he's in there flipping the burger, and yeah. But I've been back there watching you, and met your family, and especially that your barbecue sauce. My wife said, make sure you go there and get that sauce, because I know, I think it should go on the market, but it's fantastic sauce. But I want to thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, but thank you for all your work.
Extreme, you guys want to speak already?
Just want to say thanks for giving us the opportunity to show our skills. It was all four of us. It's a pleasure to do what we do, because it's a passion for us. We all like to cook. We're all pretty good cooks, and as far as when it goes to the grilling, and just see all the happy faces when the food comes off the grill, and just a lot of happy people there coming at the end. This year was very special because it was significant from 9/11, and that was important to me because I'm a veteran. I just retired as a Teamster, and it's just all these things that come as we're getting older, trying to pass it on to the apprentice behind me, Mr. Josh Elliott. And but we look forward to doing more. And I know we hit 1,000. Let's see if we can do more next year. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll have our board.
Yeah, can we get a picture of you saying
For the, also, okay. I just want to let the public, we have a unique community, especially the volunteers. We're so blessed. Also, these people that cook for the high school, Lathrop High School team. And this is where it gets me, because our community come together. Where do you see any other community doing this? And I hope we can continue this, because we have a good relation at high school, because, Mark is coaches at the high school. Benny, Josh, and I, we do the chain gang at the high school. So we hear from the high school principal, and they really appreciate what the firefighters do, and also the police, sheriffs. They're always there when they call them. So, it's nice to see this and hear this, because I think a lot of times the public, they always get the negative, especially the police, but they don't see the good part, and it's not advertised unless, but I want to thank you.
I just wanted to actually a little add on to that. My name is Shane, and I'm the publisher of Macaroni Kid. I got brought on this year to promote the kids area, the kids zone. And I want to say a special appreciation to the spouses and the family members of our first responders and our veterans. And I know that we want to appreciate them too when we're all out there, and let them know that it's a place for them to come and enjoy, and for their children to enjoy and have a free time where they can be part of that family of our community, as you guys were speaking earlier. So that's kind of what I'm there to do, and I hope that we'll grow that kids zone and just let the families of the first responders know that we would really love to have them out, and that we appreciate them and their sacrifice with all this as well. Thank you.
closer for a picture? If anybody else has anything else? Chief?
Come on, get in there.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Guys in the back.
Tall people,
Keep the tall ones in the back.
short people.
Short people in front.
Short people.
Thank you, guys.
Got it?
Thank you, guys. Very much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Debbie.
Yeah.
Can we-
Well, it definitely feels like Thanksgiving week, so coming. Let's go to item 7, public comments. Any persons who wish to speak to the board regarding any item on tonight's agenda, or that is not on tonight's agenda, or wish to, for the board to pull an item from the consent calendar may do so at this time. Is there anybody that'd like to speak in public comments? Do we have anybody?
No requests at this time, Mr. Chair.
Last call. Let's go. Item 8, our consent items.
Consent calendar item 8.1, October 17th, 2019, regular fire board meeting minutes. 8.2, monthly register of warrants. 8.3, receive and file October 2019 incident and training report. 8.4, receive and file monthly year-to-date budget report.
All righty, I have a couple items to discuss. Is there anybody from the board first that would like to pull any of the items or questions for the chief or our staff? Okay. Item 8.2, it's just of the warrants. I think we have 8 pages of warrants, but it's on page 3 of 8. Can we go to that, please, of the warrants?
Don't have it on here. Is it okay to just? Let's see.
Okay. On page 3 of 8, the question I have is, just looking at just costs of strike team on Arcadia, and also on page 5 of 8, we have strike team expenses in Monrovia. My question is, how does that reimbursement work? It looks like it's coming out of our budget immediately. How does reimbursement work on that, Chief? Does it come later, or what's our time frame?
So the couple different things with both of those. The first one that you're talking about on page 3 of 8, right?
Yes.
So the strike team cost that you have on that one, let me look at that.
Looks like 125, 7259, and 8580. Are those just reimbursements, or?
Am I on the right page? Is it under the Cal card, or what category is it under?
Yeah, I think it's Cal
Equipment
card.
maintenance, or where did it fall under?
It should be on page 3 of 8. Are we on page 3 there?
No, I'm trying to find where you're at, because I'm seeing page 3 is this one, and I don't see it on there.
Yeah, no, it's, I was going off of our email, but basically it's basically, I think it's like 76, so I imagine that's gas reimbursement, Arcadia strike team for $125.
Should be like a heading, you see?
Right.
Should be a heading above, the
Oh,
Cal
a category? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was just, my question
I
basic,
think I found it, so.
yeah. I'm sorry to be
Okay.
nitpicky. I just wanted,
So a couple things. So some of it is reimbursable. So for the the stuff in Arcadia and all that, all the hotel rooms, all that, that's all reimbursable. We get an S number for that. So when we go out of county, there's a couple things that happen. The state reimburses for all costs that are associated to the incident. So for that one, we were staying there. It was a with a preposition. So we were prepositioned for any fires that would happen in the federal land. And so they put us up in hotels, and we go into the main office in Arcadia for the Angeles National Forest. And we sit there and we work on different scenarios and plans and maps of a potential fire in that area because of the wind event. It's called a preposition. They put us up there and they pay for all the cost. And so all those hotels, all the gas, all that will be reimbursed. I think you're seeing some that potentially could be, and there's a couple that are from when we sent the engines up. So they went to the Kincaid
Right.
And the Brisbane fire initially, and then the
Briceburg.
Kincaid, Briceburg, and then to the Kincaid fire. So a lot of that is affected. So if for our fuel up is on our own, and usually we get fuel before we leave, that is paid, so that's paid for. If there's expenses that are associated with the fire, such as that we had to have hotels, or if they didn't have sleeping arrangements or something of that nature, they reimburse that. But we do have an expense in there for a fuel filter. So that is not affected from the fire. The fire didn't cause the fuel filter. It was just a maintenance item. And so we had to pay for that cost. But we'd pay for that if it was home also. So it's just a wear and tear item. Anything that's wear and tear associated, we will have to pay for. Anything that the fire caused, then they reimburse that. And it gets a little tricky when you talk about damage, because it has to be caused by the fire, not necessarily. So if a tree was burning and it fell onto the engine, that would be, they would give us an S numbers, which is a reimbursement number. But if it was negligent, that a firefighter was backing up and he didn't have a backer and he bumped into something, we would have to pay for that. So that's why I wanted to explain both scenarios, because you have a mix of stuff on here, and a lot of it is reimbursable and some of it's not.
And so my big question, and thank you for that, is how long is our department having to kind of carry that? Is it a big burden on the department? In other words, it doesn't look like a lot of money, but, are we waiting 6 months for reimbursement? Are we waiting up to a year?
They have up to 280 days to
Okay,
pay us.
they do
We
have
don't necessarily wait that long, but we do have up to 280 days.
Perfect. Any other questions from the directors? No. Oh, I have just a couple more. On page 4 of 8 of the warrants, it talked about, it's Lathrop-Manteca Fire Station remodel, $19,300. Could you kind of just give a quick update, or are we, where are we at with that? It's page 4 of 8 of our 8 warrants, and it's $19,300 for our remodel. And so I just wanted to ask an update on what has that been?
Mr. Chair, it's under professional services.
Okay, thank you. That helps. If you,
And the previous one was under fuel.
Yeah, I go over numbers, $19,300.
so that one, okay, so that helps me if you see, just in the future, you can't see the whole thing.
No, that's too long, yeah.
Yeah,
Computer, yeah.
So there's a category on the side that professional services and dispatching and public and relations, that kind of stuff.
Right.
That helps me get to where the warrant is.
Okay.
So the 19 is 19,000, right?
Yeah, 19.3, yeah.
Yeah, 19,300. So that was, what they did is they came and looked at all of the infrastructure of the building. So our architect that we had an RFP with, came in and looked at the infrastructure of the building to see what had to be done as far as the remodel and expansion. Because at some point, remember, we were going to talk about expanding it out, going up, and changing some walls around. So they had to come in and see what the structural components are there. Even the HVAC, the life of the HVAC, do we need to replace it? Can we use it? Everything had to be analyzed, and that was the cost of that, 19. And so we have that. We're not sure if we're going to use the architect to do the bidding and go through that process. I think we've gone another route with that, but that information was still valid for us to hand off to the general contractors so that they could look at what needed to be done. There's some structural components that had to be reinforced, but for the most part, the building was in pretty good shape.
Perfect. And I got just 2 more, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm going by page 6 of 8, which is reimbursement. It just kind of, the category struck me because I know we're getting a dive truck coming, but new dive team board shorts, reimbursement of $1,167, and then embroidery for new dive board shorts of $320. So that kind of struck me. I just wanted to question, what's the new dive short? Is it for a new dive truck or?
No,
Or
it's
team?
not. It's
Yeah.
for the team.
Oh,
So
the
we
team,
have,
okay.
we have a dive team, and so the dive team, during the budgeting process, wanted to get together and put a board short that they have because they're changing from dry suits and wet suits. Sometimes the dry suits aren't necessarily perfectly fit as you would think they would keep you as dry. So you tend to get wet, and you're in the back of obviously it's cold outside. So we tend to get them a board short to wear, so that way when they're out diving, they're in their suits, they have thermal insulation, and then they have the dry suit. Or if they were in the wet suit, depending on what the environment was that they're in, then they wouldn't have their duty clothes. If they dive in this, then it would be wet. So
Makes sense.
we tend to give them a dive short that they can put on while they're, responding and that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Thank you.
I did see the shorts.
Perfect, okay. Thank you. And my final question is utilities, which is just really kind of bizarre to me. Page 7 of 8, utilities, and just looking at these different stations, and I know we have solar, and I know Battalion Chief is really after, making us as solar as possible. But just looking at Mossdale Station 34 at $1,117, and then looking at Station 35, which is our new station, in River Islands at $2,000. And I just want to ask, I believe we do have solar at 34, so that may be one of the reasons, but we're at $1,000 difference between two stations, and I know admin is at the other, but what is there some other reasons why we're kind of $1,000 difference between two stations on that?
It's solar.
Yeah, okay.
But to be honest, and up front, I'm not happy with the $1,000. So not the difference, the fact that Station 34, we're still paying $1,000 on that because we buy PG. So with the purchase plan, which we're going to buy these outright this next couple years, but the purchase plan, we buy PG&E at the cost, or electricity, I should say, from the provider of the solar panels, and we buy it from PG&E. That should be a lot less from PG&E than it is. But with the purchase, the PPA, the purchase power agreement, what happens is if the system that we installed or that they recommended we install doesn't perform to the level of what they're supposed to, then they reimburse us that money. So trust me, this is kind of, I look at this every month, and I've got Division Chief Madowski monitoring that power supply to make sure what we're getting is what we're supposed to get, because at the end of the day, I'm not happy with the $1,100 because Station 4, before we put the PG&E on there, was exactly what Station 5 was.
I see.
Station 5's, their PG&E, we've had a little bit of problem because of liquefaction at the station, and it really determines the size of the hole for the pier for the canopies. So what they've done is they had to go out because they wanted to build 12-foot, they wanted to dig 12-foot down for the canopy pier, and the NGO, the engineers, said you can't go 12 feet because of the liquefaction issue, you can only go 10. So then we sent it back to get a bigger, so I think instead of a 42-inch pier, we're gonna have to do a 48-inch pier. I talked to the contractor today, and he's just waiting for the go-ahead. He's got, everything's there. We're ready to dig the holes. We're just waiting for the final stamp on the certificate so that we can put the canopy up and get moving. That should decrease that number. That's actually lower than it was. It was 2,500 and 2,800 during the summer, but it should bring it down significantly.
Well, thank you, Chief, for explaining that, because, yes, go ahead, Benny.
I'm glad you brought this up because I did have a discussion with the chief on the same item.
Trying to get the same answers that he's given you, so I was concerned about it myself. On the board before, I always kept watch on our PG&E bill, and, it was this high and this much higher, and so, yeah, it's always been a concern of mine, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you. Director Cole? And then,
Oh, just, when we go to Station 5, now, is Station 5 under the irrigation, River Island? So that should be cheaper than, once we put it, we won't be under the PG&E, right? I mean, it'd be cheaper, because I heard that River Island irrigation is cheaper than the PG&E.
Yeah, so we are under Lathrop Irrigation District. That is the utility that provides the power there. So I use PG&E as a generic term for the power, and I shouldn't do that, but Lathrop, you're right, Lathrop Irrigation District is what that $2,000 goes to. And it was higher before. So they are cheaper than PG&E. So Lathrop Irrigation is cheaper. And then, but even if you have a purchase power agreement, that's even cheaper than that, because it's supposed to be generating enough power to offset that. And that's what the benefit of purchase power agreement is that you're buying the power from the solar people who put the panels up there for you, cheaper than PG&E, without the expected increases that PG&E is going to go to, depending on what tier you fall under. So that's why it's important for us to monitor that Station 34, because if we have to pay, if we get into a higher, if the solar is not producing enough power that keeps us out of the higher tiers, then we're paying more than we were projected to pay when the estimates were done. And so that's why it's important for us to monitor that. I don't like that. That's why we have a couple buyouts on there, and the first one's coming up in a couple years, and we're just going to buy those panels outright, and then we just have to make sure that we're getting power and keep an eye on it.
thank you, Chief. Director Cole?
I was just going to add that Station 34, that's probably including gas as well, correct?
I'm not sure, probably, yeah.
And I don't see a separate line item for Station 35 for gas. Is that natural gas or is that propane?
So it's propane.
Okay, so Station 34 and Station 31 are probably your only two stations on natural gas?
Yes. Well, Station 33 is natural gas too. Yeah.
Okay. So that will also affect your numbers that's not just electricity, that could be gas as well.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Ms.
just-
Rhodes?
Because you were talking about that, that the Lathrop Irrigation District is cheaper, and I've heard that. However, it's interesting, when I was looking at the bill at home, the difference between 34 and 35 is pretty dramatic. And I know that 35 is a larger station.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, 34 is 2 stories versus 1. So is $2,075 what we consider cheaper for Station 35? That's a lot.
No, the solar's not up yet. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
so when the solar's up, I expect that number to be
Okay.
potentially lower than 34.
Okay.
It should be
Because-
lower because of we're not PG&E there, right?
Well, we're going to own that system.
Yeah.
And so we built the system. So there's a couple different things. They try to, there is some legislation out there, and there's some rules of how big a system you can build. So I can't build too big of a system, and then it's not cost effective for me to pay for that system because and get me to net zero. They really kind of restrict you to where it's net zero. They don't let you build, the overbuild is what they call it, overbuild the system. LID did allow us to build it, keeping in the thought that we would have a large presence there with admin and whatnot. So we were able to build that system. Because remember, the systems, typically are built based on information that is known. So they know how much PG&E, they take a year's worth of PG&E and they go, okay, you use this many kilowatts over 12 months, and we'll, because PG&E basically, solar produces higher in the summer than it does in the winter because of the cloud. So they build the system based on your usage. So this one was a little bit different. We did some estimation of what the usage would be, and then we went from there. So I think we're going to be in good shape at 35s, but yet we'll see when it starts producing.
Any other comments? All right. Well, thank you, Chief, and appreciate you taking the time to explain, especially those numbers, and that you guys are both monitoring that. But so thank you, Battalion Chief, doing that too. I'll entertain a motion on item 8 or consent items.
Somebody speak up?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, let him have it.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Can I have roll call, please?
Director Rhodes?
Yes.
Director Gatto?
Yes.
Director Coe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shahara?
Yes.
Chairman Elliott?
Yes. Let's go to item 9. Item 9.1, approve and adopt amended policy .30 capital assist policy.
So, working through some of the audit and some of the process of capital asset policy, so you have to make sure that you're properly categorizing your capital assets. So I'm going to have Executive Assistant Haley Salazar go over that when she brings it up, but I'll talk about it briefly. We did have one in place when our auditor first came. That was one of the items that they pointed out, that we needed to have a capital asset policy in place and a schedule of assets that have to be, so, and how that works for them is when an auditor shows up and says, okay, you have fire engine 35, and we don't use 35, we use the number because the numbers can change from a fire engine. So we'll say, apparatus 19-5, we want to see that. Where's it at? And so we need to be able to take them out there and show them where that asset is and how much is left on it and the depreciation of that, how it moves forward. So I'll let Haley take over with the rest of the presentation.
So we have item 9.1, approve and adopt amended policy 0.30 capital asset policy. So the purpose of the amendment to the policy is to implement the recommended changes that our accounting consultant has suggested. As Chief Neely had alluded, when we're going through it and trying to really just take a deep dive into our capital asset structure, she had these recommendations and amendments to the policy so that they can better fit the needs of the district and the growing amount of apparatus and assets that we have. So the amendments to the policy provide more clearly defined asset categories and how to properly classify assets for capitalization purposes. Staff recommends the board approve and adopt amended policy 0.30 capital asset policy. Fiscal impact is none.
Any questions from the directors?
I have none.
Oh, I think this is outstanding.
I'll entertain a motion on item 9.1.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve and adopt amendment policy number 0.30 capital asset policy.
All right, I'll second that, and we'll go roll call, please.
Director Rhodes?
Yes.
Director Gatto?
Yes.
Director Coe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shahara?
Yes.
Chairman Elliott?
Yes. Let's go to item 10, informational items. 10.1, Chief's report, please.
Okay, a couple things. We did have, we had some strike teams that went out. I went out on my Type 1 team. I was pre-positioned in Southern California for 12 days. We didn't see much fire. A lot of that fire in Southern California was either on LA County and LA City, and so that's different from federal land, and we were pre-positioned to deal with just federal land. We did assist with a little bit here and there. Some of our members on the team are from those areas that I just mentioned, so we did a little bit, but we were there for 12 days. However, we did send 3 engines out, the 2 Type 3s and a Type 1 engine, and one went to the Brisbane? No. Biceberg, I'm sorry. Biceberg, it was for only a day. It didn't even stay long. I was there to check in, and they checked out, and they got repositioned over into the Kincaid fire, which was really a lot. Some of the crews were online for 48 hours without getting any relief. There was just a tremendous amount of fire that they all fought. We did have a little bit of damage that was covered from the incident. We had one of the doors, the wind was blowing so bad, the door flew open and broke some of the hinges. And then we had one where there was just so much smoke that it was hard to maneuver around, and there was some damage to one of the doors that we'll have to cover a little bit of that. But other than that, the crews are good. They did a great job out there, and everybody came home safe. So we're happy to have them home. So we have a couple things. Update on the correspondence with the LIMSA. The LIMSA has responded back advising us that they don't see any need in their current ALS system where we may be able to provide ALS care, which I think is just a kind of confusion with the vendors that they have, or that serve ALS transport versus us. However, they did say in the same letter that they were willing to meet with us and look at implementing our ALS program, and they're putting a policy together because of SB 438 requirements, and we'll be looking at that. Supervisor Patty did reach out to me and said that he wanted to attend those meetings. And so we have corresponded with the EMS director and his boss, the director of health services, and we have requested a meeting. We haven't heard back, and tomorrow we're going to be requesting the correspondence with why we haven't got a updated meeting. There's a lot going on, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them or for us, for that matter, but with 438 has impacted not just our ALS ability, because at some point, if he hasn't refused our plan, but if he does refuse our plan, the law allows us to take him to administrative law judge for him to explain why we can't provide ALS. And I don't think that he's going to be able to provide that information, seeing that there's two other departments that do have firefighter paramedics. So I think we're on a winning track with that. We'll just keep you informed, and we're going to keep our legal counsel updated. The other thing that they're dealing with is dispatch. Dispatch has changed. Now the law basically states, and we did meet with him on that, so we did have a meeting with him. It wasn't like he refused to meet with us. We met with him on that. So the law basically states that, legislation states that the jurisdiction the public agency having jurisdiction is able to send their dispatch calls to their dispatch. It doesn't have to go through Valleycom anymore. Doesn't have to go through the EMS director's vendor. Doesn't have to do that. He doesn't get to make that decision, and he was clear on that. He came out and he said, basically, I just want to know what you want to go to and where you want me to send the calls. There's a couple little nuances with dispatch, like a call taker, an EMD process, where they do ask questions and they try to get information so that they can give pre-arrival instructions. So there is some stuff, and we're working through our dispatch that we are at to make sure that they're going to be able to provide that service. So there's going to be some transition with that, but we're hoping to get the live caller back and work forward with that. So correspondence with LIMSA, that's the update for that. I do have an introduction of an employee, but before I do that, I want to remind everybody of the holiday party. That's November 30th. Yeah, I think we've heard back from everybody. Did you get back with us? No?
I just got the thing in the mail yesterday.
Okay.
So, yes, please put me down for 2.
2. Perfect. It's going to be a great event. I think we're going to do something a little bit different this year. The board's going to be able to, give back to the firefighters for all their hard work, appreciate them, and just spend time with each other and enjoy each other's company. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the committee's done a great job in putting stuff together, and I think we're in a good shape. So the last thing I want to do before we go over any updates on the chief's chief's update on district goals and objectives is bring up John Gish, if I can. So Mr. Gish, as you know, has served on the board. We had an opening for a deputy fire marshal position, and Mr. Gish was an applicant for that position. And so we have gone through the process of all hiring, we did our physical, and we gave Mr. Gish an offer for employment, and he started a couple weeks ago, and he's hit the ground running because he had 7 or 8 sets of plans for him to review. And so we're looking forward to Mr. Gish, his valued asset to the organization. He's been in the fire service for over 26 years, served on our board, served in a neighboring agency, has been, served in many aspects of the fire service, but recently, I'd say over the last 5 or 6 years that I know of, has really gotten involved in prevention. So he has the background of doing a lot of company inspections from company officer standpoint, but really has been focusing in on prevention, which is definitely unique in itself, because there's a lot of code to understand, a lot of information on plan reviews to be able to understand, so that we're making good decisions out there. So I'd like to welcome John Gish to our employer. Thank you. Go ahead. Anything to say?
I'm just glad to be here and offer my experience to the department.
You need
The board
directors.
want to say anything?
Welcome back.
Ditto, welcome back, bud.
Yeah, welcome back, and we look forward to seeing you here. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I know I saw him earlier with a uniform. I was like, whoa, all right, he's back. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Congratulations, John. We're very proud of you, and thank you for coming to serve us on another end. But your expertise is well mentioned, so thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, John. So as the board knows, part of the issue with prevention is that we have so much of it right now that we're busting at the seams. And so it's been a huge asset to bring them on board to help with the plan review process. Not to mention that we have a lot of code enforcement that hasn't been done. There's a lot of weeds out there that haven't been done. We're getting complaints from some of the areas in Lathrop, some of the older areas that potentially are hazards, and code enforcement in the city is having an issue. So we've been trying to reorganize our staff to really focus on a couple different aspects. We have prevention where that has to be done, the residential and sprinklers. That's another aspect, and kind of focusing in on that for an individual. And then we want code enforcement to be another aspect of our organization that we really need to enforce. And then we also have, obviously plan reviews and whatnot. And so we really, I think, put the right people in place and moving forward. And so we've had a couple inspectors that were doing a great job managing it, with myself being involved. But now that I've got other aspects that I got to work on, as we've talked about, with different venues of new stations and getting involved in the remodel and the expansions, it's pulling me away from that. And so I don't have a whole bunch of time to spend in doing that. And so that it was a great opportunity for us to take advantage of. So I look forward, and it gives us an opportunity to train our staff that needs the additional classes and certifications to move them up to the next level. So I look forward to that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, being you're under Chief's report, and you did kind of touch on it, Chief, where are we at with our remodel on 31s? I think I mentioned that to you the other day, and you gave me a quick rundown.
So we've gone out to RF, so we did a couple things. We had the architect come in and give us a price for them to manage and have a company come in and do the assessment of the structure. At the end of the day, the larger number of the architect wanted over $300,000 to manage the project, and we felt that was unreasonable. And so we have gone another route. So we went out. We're doing the RFP ourselves, and we have gone out to that RFP. We haven't run into any problems, but we did extend the time frame on it to after December, I think 5th. Excuse me. And the reason being is because there is so much work out there. We are having trouble getting people to bid on it. So we did get a bid. It's not like we haven't got a bid, and we're trying to get another bid. But we wanted to make it somewhat understanding that the board has a choice. I mean, the contractor that bid on it is very reputable. Knowing that where he is, if he was the lowest bid, I would recommend him to the board. However, we're trying to get another bid so that we can get at least something brought back. But there's so much work out there with all the homes in Paradise being built and all the construction in River Islands. And I mean, we can't it's hard to get people to even bid on the project. So, and we want the best job that we can get for the money. So I don't think that we're going to spend the $300,000. I'd rather invest that money back into the project, and then we'll work through managing that. We have a lot of experts in our that have been hired in the organization that are in construction and different fields, and we'll be able to maintain that.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Director.
We don't have anything in our policy for bids that identifies that we have to have more than one.
No,
Okay.
we just have to, it doesn't say we have to have 3 bids. We're supposed to try to have 3 bids, but I think there's nothing in there that says that if you only get one, you can't accept the bid.
Got it.
We can go out to bid again. The board can have that luxury, but there's nothing that holds you to 3 bids. But we did everything that we followed the policy. It's been advertised in the paper. We actually sought out contractors and asked them to bid on it. So we're trying to do the best we can to meet the intent of the policy,
Got it.
but yet it doesn't say we have to have 3.
And that's why I was asking, because, because things are so busy. If we didn't get any I wouldn't want to keep waiting and waiting and waiting, so.
No, because the project is almost doubled, if not tripled,
Yeah, I know.
with the cost now because of construction material and everything else, and just the lead time on getting material, so that's what we're moving forward with. Okay? Any other questions on that?
Thank you.
Okay, so Chief's update, we do have one we've added to, well, we still haven't received our CSDA member.
Our phones were off for.
And our phones have been off. So as I probably forgot to mention is the network went down about 1:30 today, and we've lost all connectivity at Station 35. We're working through some of those issues. We've addressed them, and we've identified what we need to get done. And so, but he might have tried to call to say he couldn't make it, or to verify that we were still having the meeting. Either way, we'd like to table that if we could.
Yes, let's move to table item 6.1
If we
to
could
your
just-
next meeting or whenever you'd like.
Yep, is that okay?
Yes.
That was going to be the one thing I was going to point out that we got. So I don't even get to do that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All righty. Directors, is there any other questions on item 10.1 or 10.2, or updates or goals? I forgot, do we normally accept that as a roll call item, or do we just move to the next? I think we don't normally move.
You already did it
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah.
fine. Okay, perfect. We'll go to item 11, board comments. We'll start with our left. Director Gatto?
Thank you, Chair. All I can say is a good meeting tonight. Keep up the good work, and we'll keep moving. Thank you all.
Director Cole? Thank you.
First off, I apologize for not being able to make it to the last board meeting. Family did enjoy our vacation. It was good. Before that, Haley and I were able to go to the conference, and I found that for the CSDA conference and down in Anaheim, and and you as well. Sorry. I don't know what you shared at the last meeting or not, but I found it very valuable, and I was impressed with how much, I guess, how lucky we are to be in the position we are compared to so many other special districts out there. So I came to appreciate everything the staff does. Is just tremendous and reassuring to know that we are in a much better position than others. But there's still room to be better.
Absolutely.
And at some point, I'd like to schedule a meeting with you and discuss some things that I'm pretty sure we're good on, but they were brought to our attention, so I just want to make sure we're good on them. But other than that, everyone have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Director Cole. Director Rhodes?
Just have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you. Director
Yeah.
Ishihara.
I'd like to thank the staff, you guys, Chief, also Chief Jim, Battalion Chiefs back there, Josh. It was nice also Josh showing up for our planning commission. It makes it nice when he shows up, you know. I appreciate it. Thank you there, one of our reserve, right? Thank you. But I also want to thank, I think, you know, Biederman, our police chief, went on that, I call it Iron Man, because you have to be Iron Man to go through that. And he did recognize our Lathrop Fire, and he wore that shirt, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I relayed that message to him. Okay. But otherwise, have a nice Thanksgiving, and we'll see most of you at the Thanksgiving on the 30th. Okay.
Well, that's right, the 30th, yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you to everybody, and I just want to reiterate, you know, the holiday party coming up. Thank you, Chief, and Behind the Fire, and your admin staff, everybody that's working on that for the 30th. That's a very special time, and I appreciate how you really try to make schedules happen and get as many of our staff there, and that's commendable. So thank you for that. It's a very special time, so I'm really happy the board's able to go to that. And overall, just happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and you know, enjoy this wonderful sunshine we're dealing with in November. Hopefully, we'll get some rain, but right now it's beautiful days. We'll go ahead and go to item 12, and we'll call this meeting adjourned until our next board meeting, which is scheduled for December 19th, 7 o'clock here at City Hall. Thank you.